A mother who abandoned her children to starve to death. The Osaka child abandonment case involved 2 abandoned children in Osaka, Japan. It happened in late June 2010 when Sanae Shimomura, a 23-year-old Japanese single mother living in Osaka, closed the door to her apartment shut, leaving her 3-year-old daughter Sakurako Hagi and 1-year-old son Keita Hagi alone inside with no way out. The cause of death was reported as dehydration and starvation. However, the gruesome details of the 20 days or so that the children were alive were gruesomely described by medical experts. Because the door was blocked with tape, the kids could not go to the toilet. There was excrement found all over the apartment, the children themselves, and they had even eaten their own excrement out of desperation. The children couldn't use the air conditioner, so they shed their clothes to stay cool and licked the frost from the refrigerator to get water. They also had no food in the fridge, so licked the seasoning and condiments that they found. It was also reported that Sanae had never taken out the garbage since she moved in, so piles of trash were left both on the veranda and inside the living room. The children had been finding old scraps of food and cup ramen to survive. In an autopsy, medical examiners noted there was no food left in the stomach or intestines, meaning they had not eaten for days before dying. Sanae Shimomura was the mother of 2 adorable children, Sakurako Hagi, a sweet girl, and Keita Hagi, a charming little boy. Since her divorce in May 2009, she has been responsible for raising her children alone, a position she clearly can't bear. She didn't have the time or energy to do the cleaning, as evidenced by the mountain of garbage piled up in the apartment. Sanae Shimomura, who was 23, began working in a parlor in January 2010. She was a beautiful young woman, and the job provided a nice break from her daily responsibilities as a wife and a mother. Her employer provided her with an apartment in which she currently resides. Sanae Shimomura began dating someone in March 2010 and began spending her nights with him, leaving her 3-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son alone at home. How could a moral person, let alone a mother, walk away from 2 innocent children and leave them alone for hours at that time? The children could be heard wailing and yelling "Mama, Mama," every night. Because of that, a concerned neighbor reached out to the Osaka Municipal Child Consultation Center on 3 separate occasions. On March 30, 2010, the first phone call was made. On March 31, April 1, and April 2, 2 welfare authorities arrived at the location. They were unable to get anyone to answer the door, so they left. On April 8, 2010, the neighbor called again. All night long, the children were still wailing and screaming for their parents. That day, welfare officials arrived, but once again, no one answered the door. Thus, they left. The same thing happened for the 3rd time. On May 18, the neighbor called for the 3rd time. Again, the welfare officials arrived, and no one opened the door. Due to the fact that the parlor had rented the property, they were unaware of who lived there. However, they did not make contact with the parlor in order to find out who was actually living in the apartment. They did not notify authorities about the children who were allegedly in distress. Those welfare officers had just walked away. Sanae Shimomura left her apartment in early June 2010, locking the door and walking away. Inside the house, little Sakurako Hagi and her little brother, Keita Hagi, were abandoned and left to die. Sanae Shimomura did not make any arrangements for someone to look after her children. She did not hand them over to their father or her parents. She simply abandoned them in that disgustingly filthy flat, where they would be alone, unfed, and unloved until they died. She later told police she wanted to flee from everything and have time for myself. I thought about a week later, they might be dead. I didn't feel like I should return home to save them. Sanae Shimomura did return to the residence on July 29, 2010, but as soon as she discovered her baby's deteriorating bodies, she left again, as if nothing had occurred. Sanae Shimomura called a male friend on the evening of July 29, just before the bodies of her daughter Sakurako Hagi, 3, and son Keita Hagi, 1, were discovered by police in a state of severe decomposition. She said, "How can I get over the pain of the death of someone close to me?" When she made the call, she appeared to be quite agitated, and investigators believe she was scared that the deaths of her children would be discovered. On July 30, 2010, police responded to a report of a strange odor emanating from Unit 303. Because Sanae Shimomura locked the door to the apartment, the police had to enter through the balcony to get access. When they entered the building, they identified the source of the odor. The 2 little, emaciated corpses were lying face up in the middle of the room, surrounded by garbage. They were completely. She said she didn't plan to kill her children when she left them trapped in the flat for weeks with no food or drink. She blamed her miserable childhood. According to her defense counsel, she unconsciously walled herself off from unpleasant things because she had been mistreated and molested as a child. Sanae Shimomura was tried in the Osaka District Court for the murder of her baby. The jury had no doubt she was fully aware that neglecting the children without food would result in their death. Sanae Shimomura was sentenced to 30 years in prison.